Hello everyone, my name is McKenna. I'm in Team Byte Brigade for FSE100, and this is our Zoomer bot circuit design. So I'm going to go through each of the individual parts, talk about how all the parts correspond with how the bot's going to react from user input, and then we're going to go into the code and show you examples of how all that works together. So of course we have our Arduino, our breadboard to allow for all these connections to our parts. We have 3 DC motors. We're going to have one controlling the left side wheels and then one controlling the right side wheels. And this third motor here is going to control a wheel inside of the launcher tube. It's going to allow us to launch balls from the bot. We have our 9-volt batteries to give power to these motors, 2 H-bridge switches to make controlling these motors a lot easier. And then we have an infrared sensor and corresponding remote over here to make user input possible. And an ultrasonic distance sensor finally to make sure there's no errors with user input in terms of crashing into things inside the enclosure. So if we go to our code over here, pretty standard in terms of Arduino code setup. We have our setup function, our loop function, and then we have a couple others down here that we'll get into as we go through this if-else block. So if we go into here, we're going to start off with a cur_dist variable. This is going to be the return value stored from this dist_checked function. So if we go down to here, this is going to correspond to our ultrasonic distance sensor, and it will tell us how far away we are from objects. So if we get within a certain limit, as specified here, 48 inches, it's going to go ahead and stop our bot, wait 3 seconds, and then turn our bot left. And of course this will exit us from this if-else block, and we'll check again to make sure that we didn't turn it to another obstacle. As we go into the if-else block further, of course passing this distance check, we're going to see if what buttons the user has inputted from the remote. So if they input number 2, it's going to move the bot forward. If they input 8 on the remote, it's going to move the bot backwards. Button 4 is going to move it left, and button 6 is going to move it right. This corresponds to the typical design of like an up, down, left, right controller function, just to make it a little bit easier, more intuitive on a number remote as opposed to arrows or something a little bit more familiar with controlling movement and distance and things like that. If the user presses number 5 on the remote, it's going to call our launch ball function. This is going to correspond to that one kind of standalone DC motor inside of the launcher tube. It's going to go ahead and launch it, wait 3 seconds, and then turn it off. Of course, this is going to exit, not going to call it again unless that button presses corresponded inside of this if-else block. Inside the controls function, this should be very familiar from section 5.2, I believe, and corresponds to each of the motor pins on the left and the right, and then it tells them if they should be high or low, and then the movement of course will correspond with those values. So let's go ahead and start the simulation here. Close these debugger messages and close this code. So we have our launch motor down here. I'll zoom in a little bit to see the RPMs a little bit better. Turn on the remote and click number 5. And we'll see the launcher motor goes 3 seconds and then stops. We can go ahead and press number 2 and see that both of these left and right wheel motors are going to be moving forward. We can press number 6. See the bot's going to turn one way. Number 4, it's going to turn left. And then number 8, we're going to see negative RPMs on both these motors, make sure the bot is moving backwards. And then of course if we press in the other buttons that don't have a specified value in our code, the bot's going to stop. So that's pretty much everything for this circuit and the code that's corresponding to the Zoomer bot. If there's any questions about it, please let me know, and thank you so much for watching.